It's the Great Album Purge of 2025. This summer, I unhauled hundreds of albums for my collection, some vinyl, mostly CDs. Time to give it away, give it away, give it away now. Why did I do it? I have reasons. Welcome to Song Tripping. I'm Jim. I'm going to tell you a story about some changes that led me to change my collecting habit and led to a major purge of albums this summer. First, a recap of where I've been in the last couple years. My CD buying had slowed down significantly. And since I got a brand new Fluence turntable, and because I'm enjoying the sound of that so much, I've been tending to buy, whenever I do buy something, I've been buying vinyl, mostly new vinyl upgrades, like reissues, remastered things by artists like Jackson Browne, Beatles, Bruce Springsteen, Pink Floyd, and others. Some Blue Note Jazz reissues, I've gotten those. And those have been a lot of fun. They've really been rewarding and I think worth the investment. Pricey, yes, I don't do a ton of buying, but here and there I do try to pick things up now and then. But in the meantime, CDs have been not drawing my attention as much, with a few small exceptions. But to be honest, across the board, I'd say all this year, within the last year, my record buying has slowed almost to a stop. I haven't really gone that often to the used record shops. I don't browse stores online as much as I have been. And I think with that as a background, I can now take you back to the spring of this year, 2025, where I started to notice these changes, become more conscious of them, and then acted on them. So something curious happened back in the spring. I took a sudden and strange interest in the music of Foreigner. And this is the 5-pack of their original album series, the first 5 albums. But I go back to the vinyl days with Foreigner. And what I was doing was, I think I was in the car at the shopping center. My wife was in the grocery store, and I was just waiting in the car, and I was streaming on Tidal this album, the debut album of Foreigner, self-titled. And I was streaming it, and I was like, oh, this is really, I forgot that I like Foreigner a lot, and I was really listening to the songs, and I was appreciating how the songs were crafted and produced. So when I got back home, I think I listened to it on CD, and then I pulled out my old vinyl copy, and I listened to that, and then, I was just ping-ponging around, listening to Foreigner, and then that led me to the other, really it was only the first 4 albums for me. Those are the ones that really matter. This one I don't listen to as much, but the Double Vision album, Head Games, Foreigner 4, these are albums that are part of my youth, and I just kept listening to them again and again. This was probably back in April. And then, multiple format listens, repeated listens. It was like I couldn't get enough of Foreigner. And you might say, oh, okay, well, big deal. Like, they're important to you. That's what we do. We get involved and we sort of do deep dives. That's fine. But I wouldn't exactly say Foreigner is like a favorite artist of mine. Like, they're good. They're definitely nostalgic. I mean, that's a huge part of it all the way. I even saw them live at the Spectrum in Philadelphia in 1981 on the Foreigner 4 tour. But I would not say this is a top tier artist for me. But that being said, I like them. I enjoy them. I appreciate them for what they are or what they were. But I had to ask myself, why did you keep replaying them? Like, what's up with that? Like, why were you like going deep instead of going broad? Well, like I said before, I think nostalgia was a big factor in all that. That almost goes without saying. They bring you back to the salad days. But secondly, I really hadn't paid attention to Foreigner much going back to high school and college. Yes, I have the albums, I've collected them on CD, have all those albums on vinyl going way back. But I suppose being reawakened to Foreigner, I just wanted to listen to them more closely and do more critical listening to them. Listen to the songcraft, listen to the lyrics, listen to the riffs, listen to the production, listen to the sheen that they put on it. They're a very well produced band for what they were up to. They had a formula, and each album has its own identity, and it's just cool. It was just cool to dwell in that for a long time. I got a brand new appreciation for Mick Jones and Lou Gramm and what they were doing with their songwriting. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it had only meaning for me, but it was fun. And maybe someday I'll make some videos about Foreigner, about some of the discoveries I've made about like how these songs were produced and written. But anyway, as I reflected on that, and this is just a case in point, I realized that this listening spree was significant. It was a pattern, and the pattern is this: I will listen to an album multiple times, whereas in the past I would just basically get an album, play it if I owned it, or stream it, and then a long time would go by till I listened to it again. In some cases, I might not listen to it again. But this time, I'm going back to these albums and I'm listening like multiple times. I'm listening to them on multiple formats. I like comparing the different listening experiences: streaming, CD, vinyl. And I remember what got me into the music when I do this, and I associate this with memory. So a lot of these albums that I do the deep dives on are not newer released stuff. It's all oldies, for lack of a better term. But I'm discovering something new in the old. I'm listening maybe a lot more carefully than I did in the past. Or it's been so long that I've forgotten listening closely to any of this music. So after Foreigner, I did the same thing with one of my all-time favorite bands, which is Kansas, right? So I listened to the Kansas Monolith album again and again and again. I think that is such an unheralded album. I love that album. I love the artwork. I love the songs are really, it's like the last really great Kansas album for me. Anyway, I'll talk about that on another time, but I did the same thing, like, have multiple versions. I have different CD issues of that. I have the vinyl, and you got the streaming. So same pattern. And the key to all this, I was really enjoying it. Like, I was just really enjoying like the repetition. It's like the more I listened, the better I listened. So then I was reflecting on this, and I thought, well, in the old days, I was much more of a voracious consumer of music. I wanted it all. I wanted to try all kinds of music, different artists, different genres, new stuff, old stuff, really, really old stuff from way before my time. And stuff of historical interest, like tracing influences. And I'm still a little bit interested in that for sure. But that was like the old days where I was just like going for breadth of coverage. It was like I'm discovering all this new musical territory and I want to learn more about it. I still do that because stuff still comes up, like usually suggested to me by like Tidal. And I'm like, oh, I never really listened to this artist before. So a case in point would be like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Like, never listened to Nick Cave before, but I've been trying him on for size, like on Tidal. So like stuff like that still happens, but I'm just not doing as much of it. I definitely stopped chasing the pop dragon. Like I don't really connect with like the newer music so much. If it's an artist I know and they have something new out, I'll hopefully notice it and give it a try. But other than that, I'm really not interested in the pop charts or anything like that. So I'm not as into music discovery as I used to be. I mean, never say never, but aside from these Tidal suggestions, I'm just not really as into it. I guess that's a function of older age. But it's also just a feeling like I have enough music, I've listened to enough. There's a body of work out there that's like my pond, and I can explore that instead of like trying to expand into other territory. So it's all about going deep more than going wide, to simplify it. So with less interest in discovery, both forward and backward looking, naturally I've lost interest in buying physical media. And the other factor that plays in all this, it's not just about my listening habits, it's about space. So there is limited space in the house for records. And I have wanted to purge vinyl for a long time, and I've been on a long-term project to purge that. A guy visited the house many years ago. This was about maybe 5 years ago. And I was showing him my record collection, and it was like sort of sprawling. Like have these big IKEA shelves in the basement, and then there was like crates, like old orange crates stacked on crates, and then like overflow and everything. And I was saying, I'm trying to like thin this. I'm trying to cull it, get it down to size. But he sort of agreed with that, and he said something to the effect of like, maybe if you could just set a goal to like restrict it to these IKEA shelves, that would be something you could do. And so I took that as a challenge, and it's taken me about 4 years to get to the point where I did that. I finally thinned out the vinyl enough that I just have it contained in this like IKEA unit. That happened this year. I got to that point. So I had to part ways with a lot of stuff, and some stuff was easy to get rid of because the records were not in good condition or the sleeves were not in good condition. But then the more I thinned, the harder it got. So I got to the point where I had to make some tough calls. One example comes to mind where I had these compilation albums that I got at a library sale at the local university maybe like 15 years ago, and New World Records, I think the label is. And this is all really vintage stuff, like old blues, old country, bluegrass, like Tin Pan Alley, all that stuff. And and I have great liner notes and everything. And so I sort of set myself up with a project where I was going to rip all that vinyl before I discarded it. And I did several of those albums, but I just got to the point this year where as easy as it is to rip, it just was still like something I just felt like was a chore. And I would upload these to YouTube Music and then, not always listen to them. And I just thought, just let it go. So I made a decision to like not rip the other ones. And then that led to my KTEL compilations and some other labels too, but all those pop rock compilations, I thinned those out dramatically too. I didn't get rid of everything, but a lot of the KTEL albums I had to say goodbye to. So I got very ruthless, and I just kept the ones that were closest to me in terms of nostalgia value. So I still have a few of those. But I was able to find there's people on YouTube that have ripped those albums for you. And there's also people on the streaming networks who have built playlists that contain the song list on a lot of those albums. So if you're looking to thin, then that is an option for you as well. So anyway, I stopped ripping, I got ruthless, and I got the vinyl albums reduced. Now, on the CD front, this was a little bit different. So all the albums pretty much have been in the basement, and the albums, the vinyl was nicely shelved, but the CDs were all over the place. They were in bookshelves, they were like double stacked, they were on kind of makeshift, like ceiling level shelves, extending above the vinyl. They were just all over the place. I had them kind of organized, but they were sprawling all over the room. And once I realized that I'm listening to music in a somewhat different way now, I realized I'm just going to go back to square, kind of center myself on the albums that matter most to me, that have the most enduring value, and keep those on physical media, but let's get rid of the rest of them. And we decided that we wanted to get some new furniture for this room that I'm sitting in now. And in consultation with my wife, we said, why don't we get an IKEA piece and then put the CDs in there. And then again, just like with the guy who saw my vinyl collection, I sort of set this goal. I want to restrict myself to just what can fit in here and see if I can cull the rest of the albums. So what this led to was just a massive purge. Most of this happened in June. Hundreds of albums that I decided to part ways with. And I also gave away these albums. I took them, I donated them to the local used bookshop, some of them, and some I just took to the, they call it the Green Drop around here. It's for the American Red Cross. And then who knows where they send them when they take them in. But I could have taken them to the used record store and gotten store credit. But when you're not buying albums so much anymore, what's the point of doing that? So I figured, you know what? It just feels more liberating to give back and just part ways with a lot of these albums, most of which were got in the bargain bins anyway. So what did I pull? What did I get rid of? As I said, for vinyl, I had pulled like non-essential artists, compilations, albums I could find adequate streaming substitutes for, and poor condition vinyl albums and poor condition sleeves. That was the main thing, was like the poor condition. If something was just not in good condition and I had either the album on CD or I could stream it, that was a good argument to part ways with the vinyl. Well, it was some of the same with CDs, except the condition thing isn't as much of a factor because CDs, they don't really wear out in most cases. So for CDs, it was about the non-essential artists. And then I would add the albums I was getting rid of, I would add them to Tidal when available. And in almost all cases, they were available. So I just add them to my library on Tidal and then try to get used to letting go and not have this broad collection, but have a much more narrowly focused collection. So hundreds of albums later, after I've culled, and I'm talking 500, 600, maybe 700 albums, I sort of lost count. I did it. I got, well, with an asterisk, I did get all the pop rock albums up here in this room, in this unit, and over here. And then there's an existing shelf unit we had, much smaller. I'll share a picture of that that finishes out. It's on the other side of the room, on the other side, on the other wall, and that is all the pop rock albums, not including compilations. All of that now fits in this nice unit. I kind of customized these by adding shelves that sit above here, so I could double stack them that way, and I'm just really happy about that. During the purge, I kept thinking of the Marie Kondo line, does it spark joy? So when you're getting rid of albums, you have to say, is this an album I want to do a deep dive with again someday? Or is it just good enough that I can access it through streaming? And as you can see, there's plenty of albums I'm keeping on CD. These are the most meaningful artists, particular records that have nostalgia value, or I just think it's great music. But in all these other instances, I realized, I got ruthless, and I just realized, no, you don't need that anymore. You don't need that anymore. You're not going to regret getting rid of this. Now, is that fail-safe? No. I mean, there's always regrets. There might come a day 2 years from now when I'm be like, why did I get rid of that album? But I'm going to say 99% of these decisions I'm going to be totally fine with. One last factor with CDs that you should keep in mind if you're thinking of purging is gapless playback. So if an album relies on gapless playback, you might want to keep it on CD, because these streaming channels, they still insert a little bit of a gap in there, which can be annoying. So long story short, all the pop rock made it up to this room. It's much more accessible now, and we can see what we have. My wife is really happy with it. And then the basement is where all the vinyl is, and I'm reduced to that IKEA unit. I have a little wiggle room too. I have some room to add a few albums, and I've got box sets are over here in this room in another like kind of low IKEA type shelf unit, and they're pretty much all in there, and that's really nice. And then there's some overflow still in the basement, but it's now much more manageable. So my pop jazz vocal, jazz, new age, classical, and all the compilations, which includes a lot of pop rock compilations, those CDs are still in the basement, but they have a nice space. They're all together, and I'm going to count that a victory. Like, I just feel like I got to the point where I wanted to get to. And now I have a collection that's more in harmony with my music listening tastes. So I'm enjoying the albums I've kept more now, and I'm less overwhelmed by what they call the paradox of choice. This is like a first world consumer society problem where too much availability can be overwhelming, and then it can seize you up, and like you don't know what to pick. Like there's just too much. We pick up things and we listen to them once and then we never return to them. Well, now listening with more intention, and I can follow my flow, and I can like enjoy my physical media that much more. And then when I want to go broader and go exploring, well, that's why we stream. Like that is the perfect opportunity to stream. And YouTube is great for that too. I'll give you another example. There's the Sunshine Company's third album. I think it's called Sunshine and Shadows. You can't get it on CD. You can find it used, and you can maybe find a beat up copy that's somewhat affordable. I never see it when I'm browsing the record stores. You could get it on Discogs, of course, but I found somebody who ripped it, and it's on YouTube. I just listened to the album the other day. It was a really, really good album, and that's good enough for me. So if I want to explore, I want to dip into something, I can go to YouTube, I can go to Tidal, or you can go to your other Apple Music and feast yourself. If I want to listen to something new, I'm going to go to streaming like everyone else is doing. So this keeps my consumptive appetite in check, which is a very healthy thing for us. And I think it's a good negotiated position for me, just speaking for myself. I still love my physical media. I still love my vinyl. I still love these CDs, but I just don't need to hoard them anymore. And I'd much rather just kind of curate what I have. If I can upgrade vinyl and get a better copy of a favorite album, I'll get it, right? Same with CDs. If maybe there's different versions of the CDs, remasters, or like the original OG CD issue, like, yeah, I will still maybe try to get that. But at this point with the pop rock on the CDs, if I buy something, something's got to go. So I'm very reluctant to add new CDs at this point. But I just wanted to share that with you all to give you some strategies in case you're looking to reduce your collection, and also to have you think intentionally and think reflectively about, why do I want to do this? Think a lot about your listening habits, like how you listen, what you want to listen to. I really think I'm at the age now where I want to really appreciate what I have. And that requires getting rid of a lot of the other stuff so that I can see what I have, so that I can focus on it. And then I do a lot of repeat plays. And it's very, very rewarding. Not for everybody, admittedly, but that's where I'm at. And I also just wanted to do this video to reach out to you all to see if you are going through some of the same thought process. Like, how much does this resonate? I'm sure this has a lot to do with age, time of life, but if you have purged your albums, I'd love to hear why you did it and how you went about it, and are you happy with the results of it. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Hope you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Ring the bell, as they say. And I'm going to go enjoy a CD right now. Bye-bye.